give a shout out to Politically Street, man. That's one of the coldest names you can have. Because we out here in these streets, but these politics is trickling down, so it's all intertwined, man. So we got to figure out how to work it the way we work. So shout out to Politically Street.
All right. Hello. Welcome to the edition of Politically Street. I'm your community ambassador, Mr. Robin J. Anderson. First, I'll give my disclaimer. Politically Street is not a politically endorsing podcast. We're only here for information purposes only, and we're here to spotlight people doing sound things in our community, business owners, community leaders, and our elected officials. So with that being said, I have I met her through a good friend of mine from high school, Miss Jean Green Walls now. Miss Michelle, tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Green.
Green?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was different.
No.
My bad. Miss Michelle Green, y'all. Before we get into who and what you do, give us a background of where you grew up, high school and things like that, if you attended college.
Sure. I was born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
I guess I'm 44.
Thanks on.
Carver High School is where I went to high school, and then I went to college at Syracuse University, which is in upstate New York.
Syracuse, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, didn't
Go
know
Orange.
that. So were you there when Camilo Anthony was there?
I was.
Wow, small world.
I laugh when I say that because when they won the championship, so we have a huge dome, it's called literally the dome, that's on campus, and that's like your stadium and where everything happens. So the stadium's like here, I was a resident advisor, and my building was like right here. I was sitting at my computer talking to my best friend Veronique on the phone, and doing nothing of nothing, and she's like, "You guys just won," and I was like, "What did we win?" I don't follow sports.
Gotcha. Okay.
Even if it's in my own backyard.
Right. Wow.
There you go.
Okay, so Syracuse.
Yeah.
So tell me when you got the bug to get into the filming industry or whatnot.
Sure. So I'm born with the gift of arts. Like
Okay.
any kind of medium I can do, except photography. I'm not the greatest at photography. I wish that I was. Maybe that's why I keep trying so hard to be good at it, but I'm not. But like painting or anything else, like pencil, markers, whatever, that's what I was born with. That's the gift I can do. So I used to draw all the time. Come home and draw.
Okay.
Disney preferably, because that's where I was as a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Then somehow I got into fashion. Don't really know how, but I started doing fashion using socks. Using my socks with ruffles to make Barbie doll dresses. And then one day I saw a film called White Christmas. Look it up, it's oldie. 1940s, 1950s era.
Okay.
And I fell in love with costumes. I don't know who, but someone told me that person that does the clothes in that movie was named a costume designer. And from that movie, I wanted to be a costume designer.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
And so went to Carver, obviously studied art because that's what they had there. And then when I went to college, I got in under the art program because I didn't have any theater whatsoever. Then once I got in, I actually transferred into the theater department, which is where I learned costume designing and that whole thing. So that's actually how I got to Syracuse and how I got into this.
My daughter needs to hear this because she's very artistic as far as like she can paint right now. She's wanting to get into design. She has her own embroidery machine and sewing machine, but I don't know if she took it down or what. But yeah, she got to talk to you for real, So yeah. I don't know what Jean's doing with this camera back here. We can't record the whole thing. But anyway.
Yes, you can.
Right. So tell everybody about the whole process of, like, I guess, I won't say the process, but how does a person like you make a living off doing what you do? Like, does a director come to you, or you bid for jobs? Like, how does that work?
First and foremost, let me give it up to God.
Okay. Shout out to God.
Acceptance speech coming. No, of course, can't do nothing without it. It's everybody's journey is going to be different. Like, I can sit here and I can tell you my journey, which I will, but at the same time, someone else's journey is going to be completely different than mine. And some people may be close to my journey. Some people may be half the way of my journey. Everybody, because people would tell me their journeys, and then I'd be like, well, that didn't happen to me. Like, that's not how I roll. I wasn't, you know, the first person out the gate that got the job. Like, that wasn't me. It was a hustle all the way through. But pretty much, like, when I graduated college, I came back home. I was at home for like 2 years. So I actually worked in a cake shop, and then, I don't remember how, I think I answered an ad. Yeah, I entered an ad, and that's how I got connected with the Ensemble Theater. So I was doing like their summer program with, as an assistant costume designer with a designer that actually did their children's camp. I don't know if they still have that, but that's what we used to design. And so I kind of started that way. And then I got into Main Street Theater. Don't know if that's still around too. Well, with the pandemic, you don't know what's still around.
Right,
but Main Street Theater, so I used to design like a lot of their touring shows, which did a lot of children's shows and then also in-house shows. So that's kind of how, like, literally I just answered ads.
Wow.
In the good old days when we used to do ads in like newspaper and papers and online, like when Craigslist was like popping. It was the new thing, kind of a situation, you know, entertainment.net, like that kind of stuff. So I was old school on the internet trying to just look at ads. And then from there I did like a film. I took over a film because, you know, they hired people that didn't know what they were doing. So then someone got my name and then I took over a film. So I did a film and a whole bunch of theater stuff when I was in Houston. Then I made the decision that I wanted to go to LA, which I always knew I wanted to go to LA. I just didn't know how quickly it was gonna happen.
Right.
But I literally closed my eyes and did like this on a calendar, and I was like, that's the day I'm moving.
Wow.
And nobody believed me, not even my sister. Don't be looking around.
Right.
No one believed that I was gonna move. I was like, no, October 28th, that's what I touched, that's when I'm moving. And that's what I did. I found an apartment online in California. My sister Eugene actually and a friend of hers, we drove down. So I think I drove my car, they drove the rental, and we would go back and forth.
Drive.
Yes.
2-day drive. Love my family and sisters.
Wow.
And then I flew them back, you know, obviously to get back. But yeah, so that's how I moved to California. And then from there, grinding. Like, you know, I'm not a typical hustler. Like, I don't have the hustler mentality, but I think you slightly on some level, no matter what, have to have it, especially in this industry, because no one's gonna fight for you as hard as you're gonna fight for yourself.
I agree.
And that doesn't mean, and that doesn't matter if you have an agent or a manager, like any of those things. It's great to have those things. You definitely need them on your side, but you are still the person that has to sell your product, and guess what? Your product is yourself.
Yourself, that's right.
So
Wow.
you have to sell yourself. So I'm an introvert. You know, that is my core being. Like, I will sit in a corner, and I don't have to be on the TV. I don't have to be on the phone. I can just sit in the corner and be perfectly fine and not say a word to anything and be gravy.
Believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert as well, but I've become an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I had to too. I actually, when I first moved to California and I started to go to like industry parties, I literally had to challenge myself and go, if I feel comfortable, it means I'm doing it wrong. I was like, I have to feel uncomfortable at this party because that means I'm forcing myself to go out and meet people. And you don't know who you're gonna meet. Like somebody you never thought of as a producer or a director or whatever ends up being that, and they're like, remember that conversation we had? Guess what? That show came into fruition. You ready? And I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay.
Wow.
You know, so again, one of those things I always say, be nice to everybody because you don't know who nobody is.
That's true. That's true. Wow. So you did your first film. How was the experience when you got to LA and?
It was well, LA took a while before I did anything.
Okay.
I did a lot of stuff for free. Like really, when I was working overnight at a hotel, that's what was paying my bills.
Wow.
And actually, when I first moved there, I moved to LA and the writer's strike happened. So then I was living off of credit cards because I was like, okay, I can't get a job in the industry because there's nobody working to begin with, and I'm not in the union on top of it. So I went back to do an overnight hotel to make a living and then do everything else in the morning. So that's what I used to do for like, I think I did it for like 3 years.
Wow.
I was burning both ends of the candle.
Yeah. Wow.
But the first time I did anything, like anything that had nothing to do with school, it's terrifying, but in the best of ways.
Mhm.
Like there are two different types of being terrified. Being terrified when you're really scared and don't know what to do and you can't figure it out, or being really scared because you're excited about the experience. And even though you don't necessarily have every answer for every question, you know you can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of terrified I was. I was
Mhm.
like, I know I can figure out whatever's going to be thrown at me, so
Mhm.
I'm going to be okay, but still, you know, it's a little daunting.
Right.
I actually told my mom, I was like, if I don't get the nerves, butterflies in my stomach when I get a new job, that means I need to do something else, because it
Mhm.
means I know everything.
Mhm.
And if you know everything, find something else to do. Like,
Wow, I didn't think about it, but that makes sense though. It makes a lot of sense because you're uncomfortable, but you're adapting to the situation. So that means that you're learning.
yeah, and we should always be learning
Mhm.
every day of your life. That is my personal belief. I'm a student for life. We
Mhm.
all are, because we're human.
Mhm.
We will never know everything, and if you think you know everything, then you have not lived enough.
That's true.
So, keep living.
Wow, okay. So when you're creating these outfits and whatnot, or the wardrobe, I'm saying the correct way. Costumes, gotcha. Do you do the measurements of all the actors beforehand, or they just send them in, they have their assistants say, hey, you know what, he's a 34 this way and 20 that?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Nothing is black and white in what I do. Like, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's no, this is the way it's always gonna be. It also depends on what level you're at. Cause like when I was back in like grinding days, like I was one man show. Like I did everything. I like talked to the actors, I'd measure the actors, I'd fit the actors, I'd shop for the actors, like I did everything. But then as you get higher up and you get on bigger shows, especially when you get into union, you have a staff, you have this, you have that. So you have all of these tools at your disposal and you have to use them. Like you would be insane not to.
Right.
You try to do like shows that I've done by yourself, oh, you would never survive. You wouldn't make it. You wouldn't even make it past day one. Because you need a team of, 8 to 30 people, depending on what show you're doing.
So you just said something that I didn't know about. Actors have unions.
Actors are in their own unions. Like,
I didn't know that.
if you are working in the industry, most of the time if you see anything on TV or probably on the bigger platforms online like Netflix, Hulu, that kind of stuff, most of the time it's gonna be a union show. Most of the time.
Wow.
Not always, but most of the times. And if you're on a union show, you have to be in a union, and there's so many different unions. Act union. So you just pick and choose which union you need to get into.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, unions are strong. You can't do nothing without it.
So that makes a lot of sense of who's running Hollywood. Okay, gotcha. So what films that we can that's out there that you've been a part of that we can go back and see what you've done about your work.
Recently was that just came out was Son of the South, which was a civil rights show film that was done like 2019 that came out I think I want to say summer, like last year, maybe June, July. I think it was that one. So it was almost a year later. And then I just did 13 Reasons Why, which is 19. But that came out last year for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Son of the South might have came out this year. I'm off. So we all know that I
we
am
all
off
today.
So today was Sunday. There we go.
Right. So tell me where your mindset was at when things were shutting down last year as far as 2020 go, and how are you adapting with that change now?
Yes. I really was blessed because I was actually in Canada.
Oh, wow.
When everything was going down. And I was supposed to be in Canada until the summer of 2020. So I don't know like how it was happening in the US, but in Canada, like they were fully aware of what was going on. It seems like in America, maybe that was not happening.
Right.
I don't know for sure because I wasn't here, but it
Right.
didn't feel like it was the amount of urgency I was feeling in Canada. I wasn't feeling or hearing it from my family in Houston. So I actually was somewhat freaking out, and I kept thinking of like the end of days of like me having to walk back to Houston.
Oh my God.
And how many years that would take to try to walk back from Canada. I was like, is this where we going right now?
It might take you probably about a month or so.
It probably take way longer than that. But that was what was going through my head. And so then obviously everything happened, and I had just come back home. Like I came home a week and a half before everything shut down.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Like the situation I was in wasn't amazing, but it was so I was a little sad that I was going home, but at the same time, I'm so happy that I did because I do know people that ended up being stuck there
Wow.
for a long time, for months.
Mhm.
Some people chose to stay just because it was easier than trying to get back to the U.S. And some people couldn't get out fast enough, so they had to wait a little bit, and then they finally got out. So who knows where I would have been, stuck in Vancouver, sitting in my furnished apartment, doing nothing, freaking out.
You know, I haven't been to Canada just yet. I mean, I had a layover there. I was coming from Africa, I think in 2017. So I was in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, so I hadn't got a chance to get on Canada soil yet, so I can only imagine. Is it nice up there?
I mean, it was beautiful in Vancouver. I mean, that's the only place I've ever been as far as, I've been so many places overseas. I actually have never been north, like as far as Canada. So it was a new experience for me. It was great. I mean, I had a great time. I was there during the winter time, which I actually love winter. Not to live forever, but like be cute in my sweaters and scarves. And
Right.
So I like that part of it.
I like the winter as well, but yeah, say I can tolerate it. But just for the whole year, no,
No.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm out. I do it like during Christmas time. I generally try to go somewhere after Christmas, but before New Year's, so I can get some snow, some holiday cheer to the extreme level. I like to say I like to go somewhere that looks like Christmas threw up on it. That's what I like to say.
Gotcha.
My family knows from like 27, 28 to like January 7th through the 14th, I may not be home.
Gotcha. I got you. So how is Hollywood going to, I guess, maneuver? Because I know with Netflix, they put a monkey wrench. They did some different things that, you know, so, I mean, well, not, I guess for the movie company, I mean, the actual AMC, things like that, but as far as Hollywood goes, people having an outlet to go through instead of the actual, with these, I guess, film companies or I guess media outlets. How does it go as far as like, once you finish the film, then you give it to who?
I mean, it depends. Again, it's like if you are working on an independent film, then that production company, whoever's footing the bill to pay for it, they're gonna sell it to a distribution company.
Right. Okay. That's what
Or they're gonna, you know, so that could be a big studio, that could be a smaller studio. It just depends. If you're doing a studio-driven show, obviously, like if I'm doing a show, you know, that's by Marvel, then it's gonna be from, what is it, Disney or whatever.
I think it's Disney now.
Yeah, Disney's gonna be the studio behind it. So like they don't sell it to anyone. Like Disney's making it, Disney's putting up the bill,
Gotcha.
so on and so forth, and then it just go out. So it just depends on what kind of project the producers are hiring you to do, like work on, because you could be working on independent, you could be working on studio driven. It just depends.
So how do you feel about, I just thought about something because I'm kind of part of that lane. How do you feel about Instagram people coming up doing skits, and I guess they're changing the whole dynamic of what sitcoms is, you know? Because I follow a guy named Country Wayne, and just seeing his transition from just shooting, or I'm sitting down getting my hair cut, to now he's shooting skits about his life or whatever, you know what I mean? So they're only like about maybe 3 to 5 minutes at a time, because people, their attention span is so short these days. So but how is that going to affect what you do you think?
I mean, it's only going to create more content. I mean, look at like the recent show that I'm watching right now is Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've ever seen that show. But Ted Lasso, from what I understand, was a commercial.
Wow.
It was a commercial that I forgot Sudoku. I forgot his name, the name of the actor that plays Ted Lasso, but whatever, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like they did a commercial spot where he's like pretending to be like this country, you know, coach of a football team, and then he goes to London. In the show, he goes to England, and he's like a professional footballer coach. And they like, what? Like, it's crazy. It's a great show, but it's crazy. But like, that show was developed from a commercial that people just really took to. They made another commercial, and then after they had 2, they was like, well, you know what, let's try a series. Let's see what we can do. And they created a brilliant show. So like, anytime you do something small, if you just keep with it and you have an audience that's gonna follow it, you don't know what's gonna happen. And that just opens up more opportunity for us as a storyteller to be involved. Because the more of those things that latch on, the more producers are going to latch on to that
That's true.
and create it into a larger content
Wow.
on a larger platform.
Well, I appreciate that, Michelle, because like I said, I'm dibbling and dabbling a little bit, you know what I mean? And so,
Like, man, you know, all those things online are like, I always see my sister always post like, you don't know what's happening on your Instagram. You don't know how many people are watching. Just because you only have like 300 people doesn't mean you're not making a difference. You know, so you don't know what you're putting out in the world.
mhm,
You know, you could be making a difference and have no idea.
that's true.
Like, don't stop your grind just
Mhm.
because you don't have that instant gratification.
Mhm.
Like, that's part of the problem. It's
Right.
like, you don't always get it in the first 15 minutes.
That's true.
Sometimes it takes to the end of the movie before you get it.
That's
you know?
true, that's true, you know.
So just keep hustling.
I'm glad you said that because I have I don't want to name drop, but I met this guy. He's a famous doctor. Long story short, he was telling me about his delayed gratification. You know, he was with the TSU, got his undergrad, and then his friends already graduated. They all went to the workforce making $100,000, $200,000 a year, but he waited to get more education. So by the time he actually graduated and got his doctorate, Chase Bank called him and to sit on their board.
There you go.
They paid him $1 million to sit on their board.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, but he had to have delayed gratification in order to, he could have jumped out there, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, if nothing else, this industry will teach you to be patient and to keep going. Because, like, you can have your heyday.
Mhm.
You can have your heyday right out of the bat. Like,
Mhm.
you can graduate college, and then all of a sudden, boom, your first job is with a studio, and all of a sudden, you directing or producing or, costume designing your first multi-million-dollar show.
Mm-hmm.
That could be your first baby.
Mhm.
It could happen. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've done your first baby, and it's such a big thing.
All right, you got to try to do it
And
again.
then you're trying to do it again, and then
Right.
it's not working, but it's like, okay, you think you had your 15 minutes of gratification. But that may not have been it.
Right.
That might have just been your taster.
Right.
And then maybe you're going to take a little step back.
Mhm.
Maybe it be, small things, and then your time will come.
Mhm.
So, you just never know.
Wow.
It's steps in every level, in every direction.
I agree. I want to ask you so much. Like I said, we only have about 30 minutes, man. But so are you doing like any mentoring? Because I'm pretty sure there's somebody I know offhand about a couple of people who want to be actors, and then two, I just want to get into design. Are you like doing any kind of mentoring for like kids growing up, or?
I mean,
you might be interested. I'm just asking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't right now personally do like one-on-one mentorship. I have during the pandemic, which is actually been amazing. I've been talking to high school and college kids via Zoom.
Mhm.
So like classes. So like my professor from Syracuse, she got in contact with me
Mhm.
and she wanted me to speak to the class about working in the industry and what it's like right now. So
Mhm.
like I did that,
Mhm.
and then I've done some friends who have friends who are teachers in high school, and I've done a couple of those classes. So it's actually something that I really love to do. Like just in general, I can talk about what I do all day.
Mhm.
I
'Cause you're
love
passionate
what I
about it.
do.
Right,
you know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Like
right,
if you
right.
love what you do, you don't care about
Mhm.
anything else. Like
Mhm.
that's it. So I can talk about it all the time. And if I could stop someone from making any of the decisions that I'd be like, you know what, I wish I didn't do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would want someone to tell me, hey, don't do that. Like
Right,
go
right,
this way, go
right,
this
right,
way.
right,
So
right.
why would I not want to give that back to someone else? And
Right.
I had, faces like mine that I was able to see on TV
Mhm.
that were designing.
Wow.
That's a huge thing when you see someone or you figure out someone, because it's not like I saw them on TV, but I saw their work.
Mhm.
And when you get to researching and you find out, oh my God, that person is Black.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a woman, or
Mhm.
it's a male, or whatever.
Right.
That person is Latino. That person is Indian. It doesn't even matter. But when you see someone
Mhm.
that you can recognize
Mhm.
in the mirror,
Mhm.
that's a big deal.
I
right?
agree. I agree.
So
I was just telling my son off camera, one of my kids about, I'm here to help them, guide them to what they want to do and not make the same, I don't say mistakes, but do the same route that I went. I want you to go a different route, you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
so you just said the same thing. So you see how I came back around?
your dad was right.
Tell me what you took from 2020 as far as to, I guess, make you a better person or whatever it is, what did you take from it?